Hello. Hello all, this is Buddy Craig. I'm going to show you how to replace the output shaft seals on a transmission. We're going to be doing this on a manual transmission. An automatic is pretty much the same, except I think on the driver's side the seal is kind of in a recessed hole area. It makes it a little bit harder to get out, but installing is the same. Putting new ones in is the same. It's just a little bit harder to get the old one out. I want to point a couple things out on the seal. I don't really know if they have technical terms, but I'm going to be mentioning them in the video, so I want to explain to you what I'm talking about. This raised portion here of this seal, you can see it kind of has like a UFO, these holes here, is on a raised portion that I call the cone. So I'm going to be talking about this gold piece, this gold center portion. It's raised up. I call that the cone. And then this orange outlined area I call the face. And then the back edge here where it's in this groove here, I call that the bead. And so remember the cone, the face, and the bead, and we're going to get started replacing the seal. Okay, I forgot something. Here's your seal. You're going to need a seal driver. Since the front of the seal is not flat, you can't just take a piece of wood and drive this in, because you'll damage this cone area. So you have to have a seal driver that matches the size of the face. I don't know what this is. A coupling that I bought at a hardware store. The opening was really close to what I needed, so I just used a die grinder and ground out the center inside diameter a little bit, so where it will clear the cone, but still give me as much surface area to press in on the face of the seal, but you don't want it touching any part of the cone so you don't deform it. I've had this thing for a lot of years. I've used it on all sorts of different seals. They make seal drivers, but this thing was $3.97, so I was cheap and just bought this, and it has served me well over the years. Okay, so I forgot to mention the seal driver. You want it to touch as much of the face as possible without touching the cone. All right, now we're going to replace the seal. Okay, the first thing we got to do, we got to knock out the cone portion of the seal. It's actually two pieces of metal. I'm doing this from the top. When this is in the car, it's easier to get to it from the bottom, but since the car is not above me, or the transmission is not above me, I got to do it from the top, but same idea. What we're doing is we're just deforming it into kind of the shape of a Pac-Man instead of it being a circle, and then we can pry it the rest of the way out. Okay, once the cone's out of the way, now we got to deform the face of deform the face of the seal, and just in the same way into the shape of a Pac-Man. But once I get it started with a pointed chisel, I switch over to a flat-faced drift. That way I'm not cutting through the metal. So I'm prying the face up just a little bit. And we want to make sure that we don't scratch or damage the face of the aluminum. pointed chisel out here. Alright, that's out. Clean up the sealing surface a little bit. Take up a chunk. Yeah. It's organic. This is the transmission Mosh Man told me, so God, I would have hated to just find metal shavings in there just now. And use a high flash point, quick evaporating cleaner of some sort. This is an anaerobic sealer. I don't know if I have any. I hope I have some. Just use a tiny little bit of this stuff because these seals are made perfectly to match the bore, so when you hammer this thing in place, it's going to squeeze most of it out. So it doesn't take much. And I don't even know if you really need this stuff, but I started using it a long time ago, and I've had good success with it, so I keep using it. Okay, just kind of set the seal in place. You want to try to have it as square as possible with the transmission. You just want to tap it in there enough so it'll stay in place long enough for you to grab your seal driver. Set my seal driver on so it's not touching the cone. And I got a big chunk of wood here. And a big freaking hammer. And you want to drive it in as square as possible. Sometimes I'll buy an extra, because every now and then I screw one up when I'm trying to drive it in, and I get it cocked so bad that I don't trust it to seal. So I go ahead and take it out, throw that one away, and start over with a new one. But I didn't make a fool of myself this time. That one went in pretty straight. And